Welcome to Left Back in the Changing Room.
Way!
Welcome. Hello, listeners. We are back. Gameweek 23.
What a week it was. What a week.
Oh, my word.
No, we don't talk about Gameweek 22. That's it. We're not talking about it, Sean. Your Aguero thing never happened, mate.
What was that, Sergio?
What a shout. Sean, the John McGinn fanboy, shooting up the top of the league, extending his league.
I just hope the listeners hung on till the end of last week's podcast in order to hear that tip. That captain shout that I made there, bang, paid off big time. Everyone doubted me and
double whammy.
40 points.
Sure did. Listeners, welcome. I know we've got quite a few new people that have tuned in from our stats last week, so big shout out
welcome.
To anyone who is new. It is me, Jimmy Ferguson, joined today, as you've heard there, by Sean the John McGinn fanboy.
Thank you.
We've got Mr. Ricky Pellegrini. He's been fired by West Ham, so he needs a new name.
Right. Polls to open.
What's happening with
Go on. And
how are you spending your days now? I would expect you to be shooting up this league all that free time.
I've taken up golf. I do a bit of badminton down there.
How's the garden coming across?
And just reflecting. And I might go for the Barcelona job. That's just become open. So.
You're as good as anyone, fellas. As good as anyone. And you may have just heard him. We've also got Baby Raheem's carer. It's Patrick Vieira. Hello. How are you, Patrick?
You're not too bad.
How are you getting on now there's a shortage of mince pies in the shops?
Actually working out a lot better. I'm starting to chip away at my bottom of the table spot, but slowly clawing up.
Is Raheem behaving himself?
He is.
Yeah, being a good boy. He was benched for the weekend. So,
I think he just got spoiled from all the Christmas goodies. And
that's why he was
goodies.
benched. You had a word with Pep.
Yeah, so if you're new to the podcast, Patrick Vieira is looking after baby Raheem Sterling with his little hands. So he's fathered him to try and teach him how to actually play the game properly, because he's not had a good season. I'm not really one to talk. He's a fantastic player, but he has had a poor fantasy season. So as you heard, Sean the John McGinn fanboy, he is number one in the New York City Street Boys League. He has extended his lead at the top. 86 points from Sean on match day 22. 1,287. Sean has taken you into the top 80,000 in the world. How does it feel?
I still want to be higher. I want to be higher up there. If it wasn't for my poor start, I think the first 6 weeks before I used my wild card, my team was shocking. I want to be higher.
We all want to be higher. you can't have everything in life.
I think 49 points ahead of Captain Ross now.
Yeah, you've done Captain.
Nice
it's a big lead, mate.
That is a big lead.
Captain Ross has slipped to second. He's taken his eye off the ball and he's taken his eye off the steering wheel. I don't know what's happened to Captain Russ. He's too busy on the ship, most likely. It always happens to him about this time of the year. He gets his Christmas money and then he's off, isn't he? You just can't be controlled, that
You
lad.
can't give him cash in hand, that lad.
Captain Russ. So Captain Russ, listeners, if you're new, he owns a ship in LA. He's our man on the ground in LA.
Got his captain's license.
He'll be joining us later as well. We will hear from him.
He will be.
If he gets signal where he is in the world, I don't know if.
So he is in second. But Sean, I think with such a great performance this week, outdoing Russ by 38 points, extending your lead to a massive almost 50. Talk us through it. How did you do it? What happened, mate?
Well, initially the big talking point on my team was what I was going to do when I got rid of Kane. I had Kane up front last week, him obviously getting injured and obviously also just not producing the goods. He was going to be out my team. That was 10 million that I had to use somewhere else, and for me, Aguero was the most tasty. I swivered between Aubameyang and Aguero, but I always wanted Sergio. I waited till Wednesday night and saw that he didn't start against United, and I knew as soon as he didn't start there that he'd be a stick on for the weekend, kind of trying to read in between the lines, in between their squad rotation.
I thought that was a very brave decision of you. The reason that I did think it was brave is because we all were calling Aubameyang and we were telling you to get maybe Rashford. Now, when a player just comes back, and Aguero has really hasn't played a lot. He's been in and out. He's been back from injury, and I always find it takes a bit for him to get back into the swing of things. I mean, the guy'd only played 90 minutes in the previous 4 games, just over 94 minutes. When I looked at Vardy and I saw people captaining Vardy this week, I thought that was a bad shout because it was his first game back after a new kid. He probably wasn't even training, and I thought it was a really brave choice for Aguero. So I mean, it paid off.
To add on that, I'm just looking at his previous game weeks. He hasn't scored double figures pretty much since game week 4.
Yeah.
So that was a very brave decision. I think people are always threatened by the Pep's rotation policy as well. So that on top of the fact he just hasn't.
I kind of just thought it was that sweet spot where he had some game time back under his belt, and he'd had some rest midweek as well. So I thought, he'll be back fresh. Villa were weak. We talked about it during the week, during last week, about how they had been struggling from so many injuries, and I thought, let's get him in. My problem was,
didn't just get him in. You went all in. You captained him as well.
I did as well. Yeah,
40 points, mate.
I said if he's going to be in there, and I was backing him, and I said I'm going to go all the way. I didn't. Vardy, as you said, just back from injury. Leicester have been lacklustre the last couple of weeks as well. Not really cutting edge. I thought the smart money was with Aguero, and wow, it paid off. City obviously taking a 2-0 lead early on, and Aguero not getting any of them. He got the assist, and I thought, oh, don't tell me one of these days. But then up he stepped, bang, bang, and then really his third goal was a gift from Villa. I don't know what they were playing at the back. But he was there, clinical as always. So
I have to admit, I was watching that game on Sunday, and before the game even started, I was just watching the build-up, and they panned into the crowd, and I saw Reina, I think, the old Liverpool keeper, what's his name? Pepe Reina. I was like, what's he doing there? And then the commentator's like, Villa are just doing a medical for Pepe Reina. I was like, oh gosh, Heaton's out. They're going to get destroyed. I knew as soon as I knew that they didn't have a goalkeeper.
All the stars were aligned.
And Man City are the sort of team that just hit the ball and they're just going to shoot and test the goalkeeper.
Oh my word.
That was it. I did, what was difficult about the decision as well was that I couldn't afford him. I was 0.3 million short, and I only had one transfer. So for the first time ever, I actually did a double transfer, took the 4-point penalty, and that was also playing on my mind, but wow, that didn't matter. So I actually took out Milhojevic, and the best I could afford and still afford Aguero was Grealish. So I actually got him in as well, thinking. Okay. When Villa got the penalty at the end, I was dying for him to take it. I thought that would be even sweeter if they could both get points. But that would have been some sub. But so whatever. Hopefully he will come fruitful in the next couple of weeks. But the weekend really got off to a good start with Sheffield United keeping the clean sheet on the Friday night, having Lundstram in there.
Luckily, maybe some may say. I mean, Pellegrini, West Ham fan, you're going to say.
There's a lot of controversy around this, and going back to VAR, dare I say, the whole handball rule, I think, is getting out of hand. The ball was clearly kicked onto his hand. It's not like he used it to give him an advantage. Harsh. It was very harsh. Also, it was the perfect time to talk about this because it conflicts directly with the emotion of the game, because it was such a good last-minute equaliser. Sheffield United have been so good at home, and that was obviously going to be a big point for the Hammers, and just the reaction from the fans, and the players played well in that second half to get that goal, and it was just such a shame.
For me, what I liked was the fact that some people had Baldock in their team, and some people had some of the other Sheffield United defenders, and Lundstrom had actually been trumped. He'd been subbed off for about 65 minutes.
I was happy.
I was really happy.
The
Hammers fans were extremely annoyed, and only the intelligence of the Hammer fans could come up with the chant of VAR. Have you heard it recently? The VAR.
I haven't. No.
If you listen, every time there's a VAR decision now, there's a new chant. It goes VAR, VAR.
It's true. Fans on this in the stadium.
We
don't swear on the podcast, but I love that chant. Sorry, Ricky.
No, I was just going to say, a few weeks ago we had Antonio scored and ruled out because of handball as well. But that goal was quite different because he did literally help it on with his hand, and he went on to score. So that's fair enough, right? There was not many arguments going on, but with this, because it literally hit against the hand, and then afterwards Declan Rice burst in.
Oh, brilliant! Brilliant
past two
pass
players,
as well.
Lovely through ball, and that's like fantastic, and that's what football was all about.
He was a driving midfielder. He looked strong, he looked powerful. He really wanted to win it, and I loved that about him.
The emotion as well.
But it was headed onto his arm, and in contrast though, and start contrasting that West Ham game, Felipe Anderson, I've got to call him out, mate. I know you called him last week, and you said he scored his first goal. He's turned. I was massively unimpressed with the guy. About 75 minutes in, and it wasn't because he didn't score, he didn't assist. It was the fact 75 minutes in, he went down and he hurt his back, and then he literally was a passenger for the next 15 minutes. It was like, don't be a liability. Put your effort in. Don't just make the rest of the team suffer. He wouldn't run after anything.
Dust yourself off and get on with the game.
It was the wrong mentality. You wouldn't have seen Rice do that. He would have gone till the end. It would have really
snog Snodgrass, no ball, like all those.
And it wasn't like he had really pulled a muscle. He'd hurt his back. Yeah. If he really couldn't run, he shouldn't have been on the pitch. He should have got off because he was useless.
Too inconsistent.
I didn't like it.
Too inconsistent. He is playing in that kind of second striker role, which I think will suit him. But it's his attitude needs to change a little bit. Looping back to obviously the lunch draw, I think a lot of people would have put the Sheffield United players in there. And like you said, there seems to be a trend with some people going for 2 Sheffield United players because they have got the second best defence in the league, just behind Liverpool.
So just running back to my team, my other 2 defenders, I do the double defence strategy there, but with Liverpool.
Fantastic.
Exactly.
3 clean sheets from 3 defenders, mate.
Yeah, exactly. That's what you need your defence. Solid as a rock. Trent Alexander and Robertson both in there. Goalkeeper, I have Schmeichel. We'll come back to him in a minute. Then going on to my midfield, De Bruyne up there, 9 points. What a pass that was, right? What a pass. You actually text me, text the group saying, what a pass. And you actually must be 10 seconds ahead of me or so. So I got the text.
It is 10 seconds
what a pass.
It's really
I look up and then I see this brilliant ball in. I'm like, wow.
I watched it on the live broadcast. I've not been streaming it. Is you streaming it? Or
streaming it, yeah.
So I was just on the NBC.
I actually have to turn off my WhatsApp notifications because you guys tell me what's happened before it's happened. And it gets me really miserable.
Yeah, it happened with Rashford last year. It was the Champions League, I think it was, and I said, "Oh God, he's got a penalty," and like it was just.
It's great, it's a PSG game. It's great when it goes my way, but when you text something like, "Oh, Danny Wings has scored," it makes me so angry, and I get angry before it's even gone in.
Danny Wings, eh?
Yeah.
Sorry, Sean.
So my midfielder, the rest of it was pretty lacklustre, and considering I got 86 points, pretty disappointing. Cantwell, nothing. Maddison, nothing, with 2 points each. And then Grealish, 1 point. He did pick up a booking. So nothing from the rest of the midfield. Then Sergio up front. Wow. Let's come to the Leicester game. So I have in my team Jamie Vardy, Danny Ings, and Schmeichel in goals. We talked about this, the rambling from the dugout last week about having Danny Ings up front and having Schmeichel in goals. Ings did his part. He got his goal. Unfortunately, he got booked. But
and Schmeichel still got 4 points.
And Schmeichel still got 4. What happened to Leicester? They fell apart, and Southampton. What a turnaround from 9-0 earlier in the season, right?
Yeah, I think with Leicester, it's almost like they're on a downturn a little bit. They just seem to be struggling. They're not the same Leicester they were in the first half of the season. You know, to compare to the Aguero, that remember you making a really good decision with Vardy as well when he against Southampton. You know, so if you
that was the first time I got him in. Yeah,
that's it. So if you captained in that game, you were doing the right thing. But now shifting the focus from Leicester to Man City, and guess who's number 2 now in the league, Man City.
But that was another thing I was thinking when I was saying earlier on in this episode that I can't understand why so many people captain Vardy. He is just back from injury, well, not injury, sorry, from the birth of his
and then injury.
Him and Rebecca
subsequently.
Yeah, a little calf strain. Yeah,
they've had a little calf.
Then it was his birthday.
But my thing is, mate, the poor thing's strained in the relationship. But Southampton got done 9-0. You get done 9-0, you are not wanting to see that ever happen to you.
You're not going
to
concede, right?
And I was like, they wanted this more than anything. And you told me Danny Ings hit the post and the bar in this game.
Within 60 seconds.
And Schmeichel got 7 saves as well. So Schmeichel actually got 2 points for that and 1 bonus point. Which you see goalkeepers picking up bonus points. You know that Southampton really were an onslaught.
And who around this table's got Danny Ings now?
Yeah.
Everyone's got him.
Well, I actually this was even before, to be honest, before the Leicester game, because Aubameyang, which I'm sure we'll come on to in a bit, Aubameyang, I had to just make a quick move. So I was like, you know what, Danny Ings, good price. I don't think anyone can ignore him anymore.
You can, but he's still only held by 24% of people, and it's 6.8 million. What a bargain, right, for a striker.
Fantastic. Watch the highlights. I watch Match of the Day every week, but I don't necessarily always watch all the Southampton games. But he was just brilliant. In the space of 60 seconds, it's the post and it's the bar. Having the season.
He looks very dangerous, doesn't he? He's in and around the box. He is like that fox in the box.
All the clubs are going to be after him in the summer.
If he continues it, he was a Liverpool player as well at one point.
So and that rounds up my team. That rounds out a good week for me.
What do you think about Leicester before we jump away from it? Do you think Leicester are struggling?
I do. I currently have 3 Leicester players in my team. I'm questioning that decision because I really do feel like they're on a downturn. Look, listen, they're still going to win the next few games.
They've got Burnley, then West Ham, then Chelsea, and Wolves.
I just think they're on a slight downturn in terms of that blistering form that they had. I don't think we're going to see. I think Man City. I think that shift will go from Leicester, Man City. I think a lot of people will start to get Man City players in their team. Shy away a little bit from Leicester. I think a lot of people will stick with Vardy, but whether you stick with the likes of Maddison, Perez, and even Sionku, you know, they're finding it hard to keep a clean sheet at the moment. So
I mean, we've said it so many times in this podcast, but I just feel, is it the time to axe Maddison? Is Maddison's time